there is reason and purpose behind publishing the demonstration videos in full length. Sometimes I've been told, the videos are so long, wouldn't it be better if they are shorter? But that is totally missing the point. The goal of the demonstrations is to give you an insight into something which is quite unique. Because when have you ever seen a process or a demonstration of any method at full length and in real life conditions, so to speak? I mean, the settings where the demonstrations are recorded, there are specific in a way. Seminars, groups, so this is not what would happen in a one-on-one session. Usually we would say that the setting of a group allows less intervention, less intensity. So then that what you see in these demonstrations, if you would even say, well, that is less intense or less direct than what would be possible in a one-on-one session, it's actually quite amazing, because even when I look back on these demonstrations, which happened some of them years ago, I'm still quite impressed, not by me, I'm impressed by how consistently and reliably the methods just do their job when applied. And so that's fascinating to me. So, but coming back to the point of length, nowadays it is modern to cut everything down to 10 seconds or 30 seconds. Video length on platforms is restricted. Attention spans are short. And when I watch videos in the evening to distract myself or to learn something new, I also want people to cut to the chase, get to the point. I mean, I even notice that I skip 10-second intros. I don't have the patience for that. And that is certainly appropriate in many situations where time equals, or the amount of knowledge that you can get in a defined amount of time, that ratio is important. You want to have as much content delivered in a certain time as possible. And I live my life the same way. Time is, in the end, at some point, money. Time is valuable and limited, etc., etc. So that is one way to look at it. But the demonstrations have a totally different purpose. Their function is to not only show you what's possible, like in a before and after kind of situation, because you can do that. You can go to the videos and be like, okay, these are the first minutes, and then you skip to the end and you see what's at the end. But the message and the secret is what happens in between. What is really happening? And that you only get if there is the whole material there. And when that is basically uncut. In the Moscow workshop videos, you see that there are cuts and edits, longer breaks, things that really are not part of the educational part of the workshop. And also, some intro and some outro parts had to be cut out for, copyright reasons, because, media has been used, etc. So there are some reasons to still make edits, but the intervention parts, the educational parts, are mainly unedited, uncut. And the two examples I have currently on the demonstrations course from Colombia, from Medellin, they are unedited. They are each around half an hour long. And it was very important for me to have them unedited, uncropped, so that you really can see what happened. There is a little bit that happened before in the workshop. There were interactions and talks, and where I still could find that in the material, I have edited it in the beginning. But So you have this undistorted view. So why is that so important? First of all, it's unique. Like I said, it's certainly hard to find something like this in any method that is being displayed. Not only the techniques I am showing, but with any method. That's one thing. The other thing is, in order to learn these methods properly, you need to get a sense for the pace of it. What's the natural duration of a technique? The techniques need a certain time to have their effect. The techniques need a certain time. Another thing that you will realize is how little of actual talk and conversation is happening. How quickly I'm going into really working with the techniques and methods. This is one key takeaway from the Art of Care course. It's not the talk that gets the job done. It is the exposure of the receiver of care, or the longer the person is in the state he or she should be in the method. So it's about applying the techniques and having the person in the process. This is what really does the change. And this is what so many people get wrong. Conversation and analysis do have their place for certain purposes, but if you really want to catalyze a change, then you need to have the person in the technique. So in these examples that you see, especially the ones from Colombia, the ratio between introductory talk and transfer of information, because some information you need to know what all this is about, is very much in favor to having the person in stabilization, in the inner child work, in the imaginative methods. It's a ratio of, I haven't measured it, but I would perceive it as being very, very in favor of the technique. And this is something I'm proud of. And it took me many years to get there. And I'm sure when you start learning the techniques, you will experience it in a similar way, that we're so used to talking. And when I teach groups and I say, now everybody in small groups of 2 or 3, now you practice, for example, the inner safe place. What happens is everybody starts a conversation. And then, people have maybe 15, 20 minutes time for the exercise. And then I check the time and I'm like, after 10 minutes, half of the group I have to tell, start the intervention because you're losing time on talking. And I was there myself, and talking sometimes has its place, but talking is usually not the intervention except for very specific situations. The interventions are the intervention. The techniques, they get the job done. And that is a paradigm shift. It really is. It will make you so much more effective if you switch your attention to techniques. But of course, you have to have techniques in the first place. If all you have is talking and intellectualization, then you do not have much to offer for people who are really in trouble. You're wasting their time. You need to have proper techniques, else you're wasting their time and yours too. So newbies as well as seasoned people who have a lot of experience, always remember, many years of experience, if you just have done the same thing for a decade or 2 or 3, that doesn't necessarily mean that it is good what you're doing. So check yourself against other things. And well, this is what the demonstrations are good for. You have a transparent insight in what is possible. And something that I always like to emphasize when it's about the demonstrations, they are not about me. It's about showing, demonstrating. And it is not ego-driven. It's not about, okay, I'm doing that so great. Now here, see what I'm doing. It is the methods that do the work. It is the methods, the techniques. The Art of Care title, I chose that very consciously, since there is something artistic about it. You need creativity, intuition. And this is where I come in as a person. This is where maybe my talent lies and where I find myself. But the techniques, even when applied in a crude or very imperfect way, work. So even if you do it bad, the techniques work. I mean, you can, of course, do them so bad that they stop working. That's possible. But people, when they learn, they're sometimes surprised. In seminars, they practice in small groups, and then they come back to the big group to get some feedback. And we find things, or can point out things that should have been done differently to optimize. But then when you ask the person who experienced the method during the training, then they are like, yeah, but it still worked. And that's the big surprise to everybody. It still worked. There are 1, 2, 3 points that you really should have done differently, but it still worked. And that's so amazing about this. It really just works. And that's why that is so fundamental. And that takes a huge load off people. It's not anymore, oh my God, I have now to do everything perfectly. Of course, it would be great if you do the thing right. I mean, that's why we're here. That's why you want to learn this. And I'm going to show you how I think is the optimal way to do it. From where I'm standing now, of course, I'm also in the process of constant learning and improving the techniques and giving it maybe a new spin here or there, or figuring out details. But the fundamentals of the techniques have not changed for me since I have learned them. So they remain the same because they work on the level of human nature, and human nature hasn't really changed in probably 100,000 years fundamentally. So there you go. I invite you to have a look, take the time, have the patience. If you're seriously interested in learning this, and you should be if you're working with human beings in distress, then it will be worth your time. We're right now working on improving the subtitling, and of course, from a technical standpoint, things have to be as accessible as possible. I know that in the modern world, media quality, etc., is important. So it's especially a shame that the Columbia videos do not have excellent audio. I'm very aware of that. But so we have put in some work to subtitle them. So they've been recorded in Spanish language, but there is also a Spanish subtitle, closed captions you can activate so that you really can understand what has been said. Still, the videos are too precious to discard, and they're a treasure. They're a real treasure. So you can watch these videos for free on the website. You see the link on top of the video. And I invite you to have a look and to share it if you like it, when you feel this is valuable. And also to join the Art of Care, which you can also join for free. If you do not have the funds, there is a free option how you can enroll there to the upcoming course. And I hope you enjoy it and you take something out of it.